Hello ladies and gentlemen, I'm your tech guru Kaiser. Welcome to my channel. Today we are going to see variables in Python. Welcome once again. I'm in Visual Studio Code. I'm just going to create a new file called as variables py. Okay, so in my previous series you would have got some kind of little bit introduction about Python variables, but yeah, I'm just going to reiterate just to make sure that you recollect it what we did, but we are going to see much bigger picture in variables of Python. So what I'm planning to do is the same. I'm going to declare two variables. I'll say Kaiser and I will say y is equal to some numeric. I'll say now I want to print it, just I'll print x and print y. So let's see whether I'm able to print x and y. X is a string and y is a way means a numeric. Okay, so just let me run it and see. Yes, I'm able to print it very successfully. So I'm able to create variables successfully. So I'll just clear it. So this is one thing, how to create a variable. So we are very much clear. So next, what I'm planning to do is that I'm going to typecast. Okay, so let's see how best I can typecast a variable. For example, I'm saying x is equal to what, and for example, I'll say this is as x is equal to. I'm going to typecast. Okay, what is that means? I'm going to mention what it is, what kind of value it is. Is it a string or numeric? Okay, integer, float, decimal, or boolean, whatever. So str, I'm going to typecast saying that 3 is a string. Okay, so now 4 is what? I'll just make 3 everywhere. Okay, I'll say integer, 3 is an integer, y is an integer, z is equal to 1. I'll say float. Okay, float is 3. Okay, now if I typecast all and just let me print everything and see what makes a difference. Okay, just run it and check what really happens. Wow, wonder. Voila, the first one is 3 is integer and 3.0 float. Okay, so I just want to understand more. Okay, what it is exactly. Okay, x is what, y is what, z is what. I got this kind of output. I want to print what kind of type it is. So what I will plan it to do is that I can put type against x. I want to understand, I want to print what kind of type it is. I just did a casting, but I just want to print it and check it. Okay, so just let me put like this. So similarly, type of y, what it is. Okay, so similarly, type of z, okay, z or whatever you call it as. So okay, one second, something messed up here. Okay, I'll put a, so now everything looks good. So I'll clear this just to make sure what I'm planning to see. While I'm able to see, is it a string? The first one, x is a string, y is an integer, z or z, whatever you call it as, it is a float. I'm happy with that. I'm able to print that. Okay, so this is one thing. I did some kind of typecasting. I was able to create some variables. I'm able to print that variable. I can typecast that variable. I said string, integer, and float. I'm able to print that. If I want to understand what kind of typecasting, I introduce type. I understood. So well and good. Okay, so with this, I'm able to understand basic understanding about variable. So many people will ask how to declare a string. Is it in double quotes or single quotes? Both way it works. You can see that x is equal to, I'll say Kaiser. Okay, I'll say, okay, so name is wrong. So y is equal to a single quote. Okay, I'll say boyka, my last name, and I'll print both x and y. It will print. That's what I'm saying. You can represent string in both in double quotes and single quotes. It will work. That's what we are planning to check and see. Just let me run and see. While I am able to see it's got printed successfully. So with this, I have some basic understanding about variables. So what next? Next we are going to see the variable names. Okay, so we will just see the variable names. I'm just going to create something called as variable names py. So you need to have some best naming standard for your variable x y z, and all is well and good, but I just want to show you the best naming standards for the variables. Best naming standards for variables. So meantime, I'll clear my terminal. I'm not going to run anything here. I'm not going to check anything. I just want to see whether my naming conventions are good. So these are the best naming standards. You can have my where. Okay, you can put x, y, z, whatever it is. You can have some kind of good naming where variable names. I'm talking about variable name. My where. Okay, is equal to Kaiser. Okay, Kaiser is a value for my var. Okay, you can have my var, v in caps. These are all good naming convention. I prefer the second one always. The first one in small letters and v in caps letters. Okay, so you can have like this. You can have my underscore var is equal to Kaiser. You can have, these are all good naming standards. You can use this. Okay, underscore. Trust me, it's not about my var and all. The first letter is small. The second letter, if you see here, it's in caps, so you can have a mix match of anything based upon your variable names. Okay, so you can have something like this also. My var 2, some kind of numeric you can have. These are also good, but I prefer not to write it. It's up to you. These are all good to write this kind of naming standards. You can have underscore my underscore var is equal to Kaiser. These are all good, trust me. These are all good naming standards to start with. There are not good naming standards, not good naming standards. For example, I have seen some people putting my hyphen where this is not good. Okay, don't use it, it won't work as expected. Some people will have space. My var is equal to Kaiser. No, it won't work. So don't use it. So these are all, and some people have seen numeric in front, my var. No, this is not good and it won't work as expected. This is all not a good naming standards. Don't stick with this. So my best suggestion, if you see from line 2 to 6, you can go with this kind of naming standards. It will work wonders. Okay, I prefer the line 2, the numbers. There are certain naming standards cases, we'll call it as. One is called as camel case. Okay, camel, once again, camel case. This is a preferred case I'll talk about. As I said, right, my where, this is camel case. Pascal case is there. Okay, Pascal case, what it does means, first letter is in capital, second letter in capital, so you can have this kind of stuffs as Pascal case. There is a snake case. Okay, so snake case, you can use this kind of stuff. So what is that, my underscore var underscore value, something, some underscore in between of multi words in that variable name. If you have that, you can introduce underscore. Many people use this snake case. I prefer camel case. It's all depends upon the taste which you have. With this, stick with the best naming standards. This will help you down the line when you define some standards for your programming variables. Let's see, now we have some good understanding about variable names. We understood about the variables. Next is, let's see how to assign multi values to variables. Next, we are trying to understand. I'm going to create a new file again. I'm going to say multi value variable, right? So I'm just going to create a file. So what that means I'm going to create multi variables and assign values to that. I'll say x, y, z. Can you see that I have three variables, x, y, and z variable is equal to, I'm going to assign values to those variables. If you notice it, uh, okay, so if you notice it, I have banana. So I have, so now if I see here, if I print it, I should be able to print all these variables. I'm assigning multi values to the variables. Okay, so now if you see here, if I run this, I should see the values being populated. While can you see that I'm able to populate these values? So let me create it. So I can assign multi variables values to the variables, and one more thing, I can assign the same values to the multiple variables, same values. For example, x is equal to y is equal to z, same value to multiple variables. X is a different variable, y is a different variable, z is a different variable. I'm saying orange. So now if I print x, y, z, I should see the same variable value. Okay, so that's my objective. That's my objective. So let me see whether I'm able to see that. Let me run and see. While I'm able to see all orange, orange, orange. So you understood how to assign multi values to different variables, how to assign same values to multiple variables. Next, I'm planning to, let me clear this meantime. Assign means I'm going to create an array and unpack that. Means I'm going to create a collection and assign that values of the collection to a variables. So let's see how I'm planning to do. I'm going to have a collection, an array. Okay, so I will call it as fruits. I'll say apple, orange, I will say banana. Okay, so now I'll create x, okay, y. z is equal to fruits. Okay, can you see that I'm assigning that collection to the variables? Now if I see that, if I print it, I'm able to print that values from the collection. I'm able to unpack that collection. Let's see, print z. So okay, make sure it's in small. It's case sensitive, people, so make a note of this. So I'm just going to run this. While I'm able to run this very successfully, if you notice it, apple, orange and banana, just make a note, people, I'm able to unpack the collection also assigned to that variables. One main question many people will ask is that, okay, I have x, Kaiser, okay, I have same variable called as x, okay, I have different value now, okay, I have my last name. Now many people ask, if I print x, what will happen? Guess what will happen? Yes, it will assign the last value because it's the same variable name. Whatever the last value it's assigned to that variable, it will print that only. If you want to understand, just run it and see what happens. Boyka is printing. If you notice in my terminal, Boyka. Okay, so that is one big thing many people will ask. Now many people will ask, if I have a different, it's case sensitive. If you notice that x is line x is small case and the next is capital case. Now if I print x, what would be the output? Meantime, I'll clear this. Okay, sorry, let me clear this. Now what happens? Okay, yes, it's a case sensitive, right? So it will always makes a difference. X is small and x, this second line x is in caps. Okay, so just I'm asking to print x, small x. So now what is answer? Guess it. Yes, Kaiser. Kaiser, it will print. So case sensitive also Python is all about. So make a note of all these things, okay, when you create variables. Now what next? I'm planning to output variables. So let me see how to output some variables. Okay, so output variables dot py, I'll say. So what is the plan is that, imagine I have x, some variable Kaiser. So now I'll say guru or something like that. Okay, so guru. So now if I say print Kaiser is plus, can you see that I'm using plus x? So what is the planning is that I'm going to concatenate two string. Kaiser is a string, plus x is also a string. If I notice it, I've introduced that only. Let me clear this, let me refresh, I mean run it and check. Can you see I'm able to get that output? Make a note, I use plus to concatenate two strings. Okay, so this is one good thing to make an understanding to how to concatenate two strings. I introduce plus. So I'll say y also. I'll say take key something. Okay, whatever spelling, I'll just go with that. uh okay, I'll go with e. Okay, so now what I'll do is that okay, I will say um, is equal to x plus y. So what is x and y? Two variables, two are string, so I'm going to concatenate two strings and I'm assigning that to z. So what is that? Guru Teki is a concatenate string. If I notice, print is e. Okay, let's see what happens. I'm just going to clear this terminal and run this. Let's see what happens. Yes, Guru Teki, if you noticed it, I'm able to concatenate very successfully. Now next question many people have is that, okay, one is string, one is numeric, what will happen? Can we able to concatenate two things? Let's see. It will fail. You can't concatenate a string and a numeric. Okay, so you can concatenate two string with plus. Let me run and see. Yes, it's throwing some kind of error. If you notice, it clearly says it's not able to concatenate integer to a string. So now what to do? Okay, let me see whether if I have one more numeric integer, what happens? I'll say 5. So now x plus 5 means two integers. So now it is not going to concatenate. It's not going to do the addition of two numbers because it understood that plus is not a string to concatenate, is to do the addition. Okay, so let me run it. Meantime, I'll clear this terminal. Let me run and see what happens while I'm able to see that result coming. So you have some basic understanding what we did as part of outputting the variables. So now what next? Last, we will see one more last thing, which is global variables. We'll create some kind of global variables and see what happens. Let me create a new file called as global.py. I'll say global variable.py. Okay, so what my plan is that I'm going to create x, okay, x as one variable, and I'll say guru or whatever. Now what I'm planning to do is that I'm going to define a function, my function, some function. I'm going to create some function name called as my function. I'm define that function, colon, indentation. It will have a block of code, print. I'll say Kaiser is what, plus x. So now what is the objective is that I need to concatenate two string. Okay, Kaiser is plus x. X is a global variable for that function, if you notice that. So now I'm going to invoke that function. Okay, I need to invoke that function to print that statement. So now let me see whether I'm able to print that statement, because if you notice that x is being defined outside the function, is not within the function. Let me run and see what happens. While I'm able to see that x is being concatenated, guru is getting concatenated, well and good, I'm happy with this. Now what is my plan is that let me clear this and let me get more and more complicated with this logic. Within the function, I'm going to introduce the same variable called as x. Okay, is equal to techie, I'll say. Okay, I'll say take it. Now what will be the answer? Let's see. If you notice that outside also x is here. Some people will say it will replace. Let's see. Okay, whether it picks or it will pick the global variable. Let's see. Now let me run this and see. Voila, it's picking the techie stuff. Okay, now the next question is that okay, now if I have here print statement, there are two print statement, one within the function, one is outside the function. Now I will say boyka, just to make a difference. Boyka is plus x. So give a guess, what will be that? There are two print statement, one is within the function, one is outside the function. Now you might be saying it got replaced, so both, is it both going to get techie or one techie one guru? Kaiser is, we'll see. Okay, we'll run and see what happens if I run this. While can you see that the x is picking this x, this is defined within the same function, it's within the same function, and it printed, and outside the function it's, there is no scope for x now, but it's picking that last one whichever is being defined as a global one, if you noticed it. Okay, so you have some basic understanding. Now what happens, let me, I don't want to clear this for time being, this terminal. What I'm planning to do is that I want boyka also to print techie. If you notice it, it's printing the guru, and x is techie, which is defined within the function. So what my plan is that I'm going to introduce a global keyword, global x. Okay, so now what I'm going to say is that this x, whatever I'm defining, it's global with a global keyword. So wherever it is, it should be. So whatever the function I created inside this x, okay, and this should be accessed outside the function also. If you notice in my previous case, I was not able to access. If you see guru is defined outside the function, it was not. I introduced something called as global keyword, and with that we will see what happens. So my objective is that to see whether the techie which is being declared as global here is being accessed by boyka also, which is defined outside my function. So let me run and see. While can you see that, can you make some understanding what really happened here? So with this you have some basic understanding by declaring your function within, outside, means the variables within the function, outside the function, declaring it as a global, and you understood. Try to access the variables and see how best you can access the variables and pick their certain values accordingly. With this we saw a very good understanding, with this we have a very good understanding about the variables. We started with if you notice it, we have some basic understanding about variables, how to declare a variable, how to typecast the variables. We saw many things in variables, so how to create a proper variable name. So okay, the naming standards, we saw that best naming standards, all these things, and we saw how to create multi-value variables. If we noticed it, how to create a multi-value and assign to different variables, how to create a value and assign same value to different variables, how to unpack the collection. We declared a array, a collection, and how best we can assign the values of that collection, unpack that and put that into a variable. And we saw some output variables like concatenation of strings with numbers. We saw all this kind of stuffs, and we at last, you, if you remember, yes, we saw that global variables too. With this we had a very good understanding about variables in Python, and I'm sure that you are enjoying the series of many topics on Python. Thank you once again, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and click on the bell notification. You have lots and lots of topics coming in. Thank you once again for joining me, your tech guru Kaiser.